The Matrix Resurrections opens up this weekend. Well, it did open up, and everybody's doing their reviews now, and I thought I'd do my spoiler review, which I'm going to do in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to actually look at the trailers frame by frame and just go through the story points that worked for me and what didn't. Now, guys, as you know, I'm one of the rare people out there that actually liked The Matrix Resurrections, oddly enough, and I feel like my voice is going to get drowned. But if you are a fan of it and you want to hear why I liked it and some of the things I'll agree with you were not so good. But for the most part, guys, I liked The Matrix Resurrections. And we're going to talk about some of the major criticisms right up off the bat. Number one, let's just get one of the big things out of the way. Trinity being the one. Guys, they are the one. It's Neo and Trinity together are the one. She has the abilities too. She hasn't taken them from Neo. Neo still has the ability to do things. He just hasn't mastered it yet because he has only been back for a very short while. We saw that they were starting to come back when he tried to fly. They just weren't there yet. So when she starts to fly at the end and people are like, oh, now she's the one. No, guys, it's not like that. So people who are saying that she is now and trying to use that as some kind of bigotry platform, don't listen to that, guys. Don't listen to any of that nonsense whatsoever, because that's not the way it is. Number two, this is like The Last Jedi. I thought about this and I'm like, well, I don't see the comparison, because there was a small faction of us that watched The Force Awakens and we're like, wait a minute, hold on here, guys. I think they just pulled a fast one on us. But for the most part, the majority of people were like, yeah, that's Star Wars. That's what I like. I remember this. I remember that. This made me feel nostalgia. Last Jedi comes out and it's like, who are these characters? It seems like you don't understand what came before. Now, if that's the only comparison that people are making about The Last Jedi for The Matrix Resurrections, I don't understand, because Neo is Neo here and Trinity is Trinity. It's Neo trying to get back to her and have their love be together again. That's what they want, and that happens at the end, and it made me so happy. So I don't see the comparison of The Last Jedi. I just feel like that's just something that the haters will put out there because they know that there will be other bandwagon haters that will jump onto it. So I don't get that argument. But with that being said, guys, I liked it a lot, and I liked the way that it ended, because it ended with the possibility of more Matrix movies coming down the line with the things perhaps that you want to see, that you wanted to see in this one, but they had to do this one first. And I'll talk about that as we get to the end and I close out things. But for now, let me pull up the trailer here and we'll go through some frames and talk about the story. So let's start with the first trailer here. Let's start with the first trailer. As you know, Neo is been reinserted into the next version of the Matrix. And there he is with his analyst talking about having dreams about the Matrix and stuff like that. And he's had flashes. And a lot of people didn't like this, from what I'm gathering, that because he's back in the Matrix, the robots, the analyst guy, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who does a good job, actually. He does a fantastic job. I think people are ragging on him. I think he did a great job. But people don't like it because it was too meta for them, I guess. Matrix has always been meta, guys. So for me, I don't understand why people are having an issue with it. Maybe it was too on the nose meta. Maybe that's what people mean by it. It was a little too on the nose. But for me, when I was watching it, I was kind of like, okay, there's another Matrix movie. Neo and Trinity are back. Explain to me how they're back and why they're back. And they do give those answers to us. Maybe they're just not the answers that people wanted to hear, but they were answers. And obviously this analyst guy, Neil Patrick Harris, has taken over from the architect and this is his version of the Matrix. He's taken over control of it all. So he's got his grip on Neo, and that's why they're together. And he's trying to convince him that everything that he's seeing is just a fabrication. He's actually having some kind of psychosis. And that's basically the first act of the movie until they break Neo out again. And I can see people getting their feathers ruffled that, oh, he's a game developer and he made the Matrix movies as the game. And people don't like that for some reason. I don't understand. Because he made those games so that he can remind himself that he is the one and that really happened. Those events did happen, guys. They were not fiction, like made up in his head. They didn't erase, they didn't retcon anything. Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions happened. That was in the previous versions of the Matrix and the real events of the real world with Zion and everything. That really all happened. So that wasn't really retcon, guys. He made the game in the version of this version of the Matrix. He made the game look like his memories of the actual events, which look like the actual movies that we saw. I know that's the trip, and that's what people are having trouble reconciling. I can understand that. That's over your head for a lot of people because you have to pay attention. You have to be a fan of these movies to understand a lot of the explanations and have it valued, have some value to it. If you weren't a fan of the second and third one, then these answers, I can understand that they will not work for you. All right, so let's continue on here. He says, am I crazy? Yeah, we don't use that word here. And I'm going to have to mute this because it's this. This is the trailer with the White Rabbit song. And basically, yeah, he's just confused. Is this real? Is this not real? I wish they kind of made that a little bit more. He has some interactions with Trinity in this coffee shop. Now, the thing to note here is that Trinity, even though she looks like Trinity to us, she doesn't look like that to everybody else within the Matrix. She looks older, and so does Neo. And I gotta tell you, their chemistry, it still works. And that's the biggest draw for me. I liked their interactions a lot, especially when they're just doing small stuff like that. It sold. It worked for me. So he's a game developer. Is it real? Is it not? He sees things like the birds. He sees that a lot, actually. And he's like the Sentinels. He sees that people are more contained to the Matrix. And I'll briefly touch on this. Basically, there was a machine war after Revolutions. Some machines wanted to go and help the humans, and some humans wanted to stay in the Matrix. Some humans wanted to come out, but that kind of whole thing of breaking people out so they can be free kind of stopped, because there were a bunch of people that were just kind of like, no, I'd rather stay asleep and live in this fantasy world because I'm getting the things that are... It was a mutual thing that happened between the machines and other people. Now, I'm sure that still, yeah, there are some people that are enslaved, but I like that explanation and how everybody's kind of tapped into their devices now. Like most people, I'm not. You call me, I'm not going to pick up my phone most of the time. All right, continuing on here. So he begins to question everything. Is it real? Is it not real? Is this guy lying to me? This is Sati in disguise here. She's keeping tabs on him. Just in his normal daily life. That's Priyanka Chopra, by the way. Okay, so here's a scene where we get to see him as an older man. This is what I'm talking about. This is what people see him as that. Everybody in the trailers when it came out was like, is that Agent Smith? Is that Agent Smith? Is he Agent Smith? No, he's not. People just, there's a skin on him. And I like that. See, they were incorporating some of our updated technologies into this story, and I thought that was very clever. Some people didn't. Okay, let's talk about Morpheus. Morpheus in the beginning. Basically, the whole opening is Bugs trying to get Morpheus out of this module, I think they called it. Basically, Neo had created this recreation of the first events of the first film, and he put a version of Morpheus in there for some reason, right? And Bugs tries to get him out so that they can go together to get Neo out. And guys, this is what I understand happened. I guess there was a video game that came out where Morpheus had gone back into the Matrix and died, like the Fishburne Morpheus that we know. Now the machines recreated Morpheus as their version of Morpheus, and that's what this is. That's why he's not like Fishburne. It's curious though that they just wouldn't have remade Morpheus and de-aged him. I don't know why they, because I'll tell you this, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who plays him, it was kind of bland for me. It was kind of bland. Morpheus wasn't that big character that I was hoping him to be, because he comes out in the machine form later as these little balls that he can use to walk around in the real world. We see that in the trailers too somewhere. There's a part of him forming. So he's the machine's version of the Matrix, from what I understand, and that's why he never talks to Niobe, because it's not the Morpheus, the past Morpheus, because the past Morpheus is dead. This is the machine's version of Morpheus. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, they try to use Bugs and him to try to get Neo to wake up and remember that he is the one. And Bugs, guys, she's fantastic. She's a standout in the film. You guys may recognize her from other projects, but for me, this was my first introduction to this actress, Henwick or whatever. She impressed me. There we go. She impressed me. And she's the one that gets Morpheus. She's the one that goes in and gets Neo back out. And the camera likes her, and she does some really cool things. And I like her new crew. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, that's Lexi in the background. Let's see if I can pin that in. That's Lexi right there. And I liked her a lot. We don't see too much from her, but I liked her costuming, and I like just like, you know how people like Dozer and all of that stuff from the original movies, like APOC and Switch and stuff like that. Well, the same way that you like those characters, I like Lexi. And they use mirrors now to move around. I felt like that was really interesting. And they don't need phones anymore to get in and out of the Matrix. I can understand that people found that a little bit weird. They just kind of gloss over some things, but it is there. But at the heart, it's all about Neo and Trinity. Now, this scene is, they just broke Neo out. He's having trouble remembering who he is and why he's there, and they got to remind him. So Morpheus goes into this thing to reminisce about the first Matrix when they first fought. Now, people were talking about the fight sequences, and they were saying that it wasn't as grandiose. I agree with that. There was no burly brawl. There was no chateau fight scene or a subway fight with Agent Smith, and there's nothing like that in here. There are scenes like this when he fights Morpheus, but the martial arts just weren't up there. It didn't make me go, oh wow, oh ooh, oh ooh. And there's nothing like that, and I don't think that was the point. So this scene, I felt like was in there just to make people a little bit satisfied, but it didn't satisfy people. It made people angry, but it did help waken up Neo that he's there because he wants to find Trinity, and that's all that happens in this scene. Okay, so remember I told you that the machines are working with people now? That's when so this is when the machines are going in to get Neo. Now that's a robot. That robot, you can barely see it because it's a kind of a fade here. But this is one of the robots here in the middle of the screen there that goes in and gets the body of Neo when he first wakes up from this version of the Matrix. And when he wakes up, he sees that Trinity is in the capsule next to each other. What happens is that when they were trying to put those version of the Matrix together, as soon as Neo and Trinity found each other again, it just ruined everything. So they had to be together, but close to each other, but never could be together. Otherwise, it would ruin the perceptions and fantasies of the Matrix and ruin the crops of the battery fields that the machines have made. It's a lot of explanation. This comes from the last scene, the second last scene of the movie. They finally get to a point where Trinity is woken up now. They recognize each other in the Matrix. Neo doesn't have all of his powers back yet, and the agents and the bad guys are coming up the stairs to get them, and they're looking at the sunset for the last time. And that's from the beginning of the film, when they're trying to get Morpheus out of the modal. Bugs is there, and I thought that these special effects worked very well. And there's some of the agents back. Okay, so this happens after Morpheus tries to get Neo at the first time in the gaming building where he works, and his boss turns out to be Smith, and this is Smith holding the gun to him. The boss Smith, not the Hugo Weaving Smith. There he is trying to wake up. The train sequence, I can understand that a lot of people didn't like the train sequence. It was kind of okay. It was there. I thought it would be this big grandiose thing like the highway scene in Reloaded, but it wasn't. It was just kind of a quick fight scene. They were just wanting to be on the train so that it would be harder to track. This is the fight with the Merovingian, and actually you can see the Merovingian up in the top corner there. Actually, these are his men. Remember in the Chateau fight, he had men, exiles, I think they called them. This is them fighting. The Merovingian just felt a little shoehorned in there. I didn't know why he was there. He was saying that for him to get back to power, he had to kill Neo. I think that was fan service that a lot of people didn't like. Hey, if you're back in the Matrix, just rebuild your empire, man, and do what you do. And when the next revolution comes around, you can just go back into your little exile and come back. I don't understand what the Merovingian's so upset. I missed some points. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Some people didn't like it. I was mixed. I didn't love it. I wanted to see more, and it was just more of him yelling and screaming in French, and that was supposed to be funny for us. Yeah, I agree, that didn't work. Okay, so this is back to when Morpheus tries to get Neo the first time in the office fight scene. He's like, this isn't real, he doesn't believe it. This is when they're breaking Trinity out of her pod. Sati and Bugs are breaking her out. Okay, so this is when Trinity wakes up. Now this scene actually makes sense to us now. People freeze frame this, and we're analyzing it when the trailer came out, and they're like, well, that's Bugs in between there, so something's happening here. Well, to get Trinity's body out, she had to use Bugs's mind to get as a vessel, as a conduit, so they can get her body out to safety while she's still inside the Matrix, kind of thing. That was a little convoluted, but at least now we know why this is happening, because she is in Bugs now, but Bugs' body in the real world, but she's Trinity now in the Matrix. She's woken up. This is from the beginning, very much like the beginning of the first Matrix. The doorway, that's Morpheus that falls through as the and now he's Smith here. In this version, I don't know why Neo made this version of Morpheus Smith, because the other agents refer to him as Smith. I think it was because he was trying to hide him. So yeah, there's still a lot about Morpheus, the nuances around the Morpheus character that it's kind of like, why did you even bother doing that? Okay, so they get out, they jump out through the window. Okay, so that's underneath where the Merovingian was fighting them in the warehouse. Right here, he's fighting the version of Agent Smith that is his boss here. This happens underground, and people were complaining that, you know, there wasn't big grandiose fights. Well, this sort of was a big fight, and he does run up the walls and stuff, and he does do his energy thrusts or whatever they're called. I felt like if you were aching for that, it does give you some, it just doesn't give you a whole lot, right? And that's the ending where they're in the coffee shop and asking Trinity, do you want to come out of the Matrix or not? Because she has a family now in the Matrix. Like, that's how they seduced her into wanting to be in there. And she's angry at the analyst afterwards for doing that. I felt like that was a lot of fun. But as you see, they come together, and there's light there, because together they are the one. Remember? Together they are the one. And I felt like that was fantastic. By the way, that coffee shop is something like I would see in downtown Toronto. And then they go up this building to try to flee this. This was creepy. This is called the Swarm. And what happens is that the analyst guy put in this thing where it just commandeers everybody, and they all converge on whatever is the threat to the Matrix right now, which is obviously Neo and Trinity. And that was kind of creepy, because they had people jumping out of windows and using themselves as bombs. They shoot things at them, and this was at the very final kind of thing that happened on the top of the roof, where they got up there and they're like, I remember you, you remember me, I love you and stuff. But like, the bad guys are coming. There's agents up on their way to the roof. They're gonna get basically taken and put back into the Matrix, because that's what the analyst wants, because it helps produce the people that want to stay in the Matrix, the people that are the batteries. It helps create a harmony there that people like. So with Trinity and Neo both back in the Matrix under the rule of the analyst and the machines again, it helps them out, and they're up there and they're like, do you want to go back, or do you want to just go out and die? And it was just kind of like, that worked. Yeah, they're like together both. We're not going to do this. And I felt like that was very poetic. I felt like it was Shakespearean. That's what I said in my reaction, my non-spoiler reaction, was that I felt like they're going to go out, they're going to kill them. And that maybe would have been a bolder choice for a lot of people. What do you think? If they had actually killed them here, and that was the end of the Matrix, would that have worked for you? But as it happens, they fly off. Neo doesn't have the ability to fly quite just yet. He tries, but he doesn't. And they're in midair, and all of a sudden she's holding him up. And that's where people are upset that she's the one. But no, they're both the one. They both have the abilities to do things in the Matrix. And yeah, that's the Agent Smith guy. I think that's the end of this first trailer. He's like, yeah, back to the Matrix. Like, that's the new version of Smith. But people are angry that she's the one. Don't pay attention to that. They both have the powers now, and they explain that in the end. Let's go to the second trailer and see if there are any more points I want to make. Okay, so that's at the beginning when Bugs is looking in the modal or whatever. And he does a good job of being this version of Smith. He does actually a good job. But you do kind of ache to see Hugo Weaving back to be with, fighting with Neo, because Neo and him just, again, they had that chemistry. But you know what? They did that before in Revolutions when Agent Smith was in Bane, was it? He was in Bane. So it wasn't unheard of. It was kind of expected. I didn't know his choices at the end, though. He kind of helps Neo. Again, they're just trying to break Neo out here in these scenes. That's all they're trying to do. They're trying to make him remember. And they use the construct before they go and fight in that watery temple area. So, let's see. Okay, yeah, there we go. There, that's a better shot of the machines going in to get Neo. These are, I can't remember the names of the machines, But yeah, these are the machines that are fighting with Bugs and her group. And I felt like that was really well explained, and I like the designs. Some people were bagging on the designs. One of them looks like a manta kind of thing. I thought it was cool, man. All of this looks fantastic. There's Bugs. And again, just showing some stuff that we saw in the first trailer. And this is them resurrecting his body because his eyes are burned out here, and it shows them replacing his one eye, and it's right. Is that what happened? It's just funky, man. It was, the imagery in this was just, it's worth a second look. And this is when he's back in the original Matrix, or the new Matrix that's run by the Analyst. He's still believing that he's the one, and he tries to walk off the building here, and it's just told in a flashback. This isn't really part of the story, and the person who is Bugs is down here on the scaffolding down below. She sees it, and she says that he flies, does she? I can't remember, but this is just in a flashback. You don't really see too much more after he makes that step, but the imagery, guys, is like, come on, how is that not cool? That looks so cool. Yeah, and I like the doorways. I like the aesthetics of the doorways. How the gravity just changes. We've seen that in the first trailer. This is when breaking up Morpheus. And okay, people are saying that he's always got the beard on. No, he doesn't. When he goes and talks with Niobe in the real world, in Io, he's clean shaven. Now, let's talk about Niobe here. I hear some people saying that the makeup is trash. It's questionable. It's not the greatest makeup job I've seen. Recently, I would say that what Colin Farrell's doing in the new Batman looks fantastic. That kind of makeup looks great. Leto in Gucci. But the makeup, yeah, okay, if you want to complain about it, fine. But it doesn't ruin the movie, and her acting wasn't the best either. I would agree with you there, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It doesn't say, oh, all of a sudden now this movie is bad just because of those two things. No. That's when she's trying to break out Neo, and that's when she's trying to break out Morpheus. See, they married two shots there. And this is the war of the machines, because some machines felt like they should have just kept on enslaving humans, and some were just like, no, we can work together kind of thing. And that was a very smart idea. And that's just kind of the mythos that's buried in the background. That was awesome. And there's the Merovingian. Okay, so there's Smith yelling, Mr. Anderson, but this is when they're fighting the Merovingian. Smith is there too. Smith brought in the Merovingian and his exiles to fight them for some reason. I don't know why. This trailer really hammers that part home. And there's Morpheus as Agent Smith in the beginning. There's Sati, played by Priyanka Chopra. I felt like that was good casting, and I liked that. She was kind of like this version of the Oracle, but because there's not an architect and Oracle in this version of the Matrix, it's just the Analyst and her, who has the abilities to manipulate it in certain ways. No Seraph either. Oh yeah, and that's when he's leaving and he can see her body in the pod. This is her coming out, and then this is at the end when they're like, I remember you, I love you, I want to be with you and everything. There's some shots that remind you about the first Matrix. Again, things we saw, they're escaping. Guys, I felt like this was really well done. I don't know why people are hating on it so much, because it's really not that bad. When you think about what Revolutions and Reloaded, what they were trying to do, it just made me really happy at the end, because I do like the Trinity and Neo characters, and I've always felt like that love story was the backbone of it. And when they finally get to be together at the end, it's kind of like they gave us another chance. This is the resurrection, but this is them reloaded. They get to have their chance in the Matrix, and I like that full scene at the end when he's talking when they come in to the Analyst and they're like, we're going to take everything over, and the Analyst tries to make a deal with them as to how the Matrix should be run and everything, and they're like, no, we're going to work, and we're going to run the Matrix. So there is possibility for more story there to be told. definitely. There's definitely a lot more opportunity for the story to be told. And I like the fact that when they both came in and talked with the analyst at the end, Neo was like, you could tell that he still had his abilities, but so did Trinity. And when she was like angry at him for using children, it was kind of like, yeah, I like that. That worked for me, and I was just so happy. It put a huge smile on my face at the end. I was like, this was awesome, actually. I liked the Matrix Resurrections. Did you guys... let's see, there was another poster, wasn't there? No, okay. What did you think? Let me know about what you thought about it in the comments below. Some of these story outlines, did some of them not work for you? Was it so egregious that you hated it, like everybody is trying to say? People are hating it without even seeing it. They just hear somebody's opinion and then jump on that bandwagon. Are you somebody that just jumps on that bandwagon? It's kind of a bummer that things happen that way, but it did for the Matrix Resurrections, because I think they just opened the door again for more stories to happen in the Matrix, guys. They just opened the door. All right, that's it. I'll leave a link to the non-spoiler version up there. Yeah, and let's continue on with some more movies, news, and stories, guys.